Right, hello Year 11s. This is just a quick lesson on some tips for revising and actually sitting the written drama GCSE exam. So we're specifically looking at component 3, section A, which is Find Me, the play you have studied by Olwen Wymark. Okay, so I'm going to look quickly at some revision strategies. The best way to revise Find Me is to refresh your knowledge of the play, or at least key scenes from the play. You can do this, of course, by getting your scripts out and rereading extracts. Hopefully you'll have noted down the key scenes. You can look at the notes in your book, but one of the best ways of doing this is to look at actual performances of Find Me, and there's one linked on the PowerPoint here on the blue, this one on Teams. Okay, this is a year 13 performance from a few years ago, which is a very good standard of Find Me, and it'll refresh your knowledge of the actual play, but also it'll give some ideas to you about how you could stage certain scenes in terms of acting skills and also space and proxemics. So if you just watched a few key scenes from that one, it would probably refresh your knowledge of it, okay? Once you've refreshed your knowledge of the play, the best things to do is to make your revision active. So what I mean by that is don't just read through your class notes in your book. You need to be actively doing something so that it goes in, basically. So you can use a combination of flashcards, small cards, mind maps on paper, and or notes, structured notes to remind you of the different characters, scenes, acting skills, stage configurations. Okay, so if you get out some stuff on acting skills in your book, you can make up a flashcard of it, write it across so that you remember those key terms. So for example, the example we've got here is you could make 5 flashcards with all the key characters on one side: Mark, Jean, Edward, Verity and Nikki. So if you put Verity on one side of it, on the other side, find 2 quotes or 3 quotes that says something about their character. So it could be something they said, or it could be something that somebody else said about Verity. What does it say? Write down what it says about their character. What does that say? Does it say that she's a volatile character? Does it say that she's an unpredictable character? Write down some words like that, and then think about which acting skills somebody could use to show this. So what kind of facial expression, what kind of tone of voice you would use if you were trying to get an actor to portray this part of their character. Okay, so you could do that, as I said, for all the characters, but you could also do it for stage configuration. So you might put, theatre in the round on one side and turn round over and put the advantages and disadvantages of theatre in the round. Okay, then when you've done those flashcards, you can put them down, and at a later date just pick them up and remind yourself of those things, just to give you that memory aid for when you're actually sitting in the exam. When you've done things like that, the best thing to do is to look at examples of written responses to the exam who have done particularly well. So here marked in green are 3 marked exemplar papers on the Teams site under your class materials, but you can link to it from that link there. And there are 3 examples there of candidates previously from this school who scored very highly in the written exam. So if you read through 1 or 2 of their questions and then break them down, so identify what key points they've made to answer it and what key drama terms they've used to answer the question. By doing that, by highlighting it and by kind of analysing it and breaking down what they've done, you could then repeat that question but using a different extract from the play. Try having your own response to that question. Yeah, so write your own notes in response to that question, but using theirs to see how well they've done it and seeing whether you can do it as well. There are also 2 past papers from 2018 and 2019 on the Teams file section. You could have a look at those. It's section A you need to look at for Find Me. Okay, you can take 1 or 2 of the questions and make notes planning how you would answer it. Okay, so have a go at past papers, and then it's not such a surprise when you turn up in the exam. Now, in terms of actually being in the exam itself, it's really important to think about your timing. Okay, the whole paper is 1.5 hours, but you have about 1 hour to spend on your answers for Find Me. there are 50 marks available to get. So you need to spend about 1 mark, you need 1 minute for every mark. So on a 4-mark question, you should be roughly doing about 4 minutes, okay? On a 6-mark question, should take you about 6 minutes, and an 8-mark question should take you about 8 minutes. Now, 4 minutes is not actually that long for a 4-mark question, and it's really important that you're aware of the time, because the 4-mark questions tend to be at the beginning of the paper. So if you more than 4 minutes, or significantly more than 4 minutes on a 4-mark question, you will find that you run out of time by the time you get to the biggest scoring questions at the end. So really try to be aware of that clock and how much time you should be spending on it. If it's a 4-mark question, 4 minutes at most, and move on to the highest scoring questions. Okay. But at the same time as being aware of timing, don't rush. Make sure you read the questions carefully. Very often we have candidates who come out and realise they didn't actually answer the question. They wrote a lot, but they didn't write what the question needed, what the question was asking for. So it's really important you read the questions thoroughly and slowly, okay? So you know, which examples you're going to use. So you might decide, right, for this question, I'm going to use the restaurant scene in Find Me, and for the next question, I'm going to use the swimming pool scene. Okay, so you're using different examples and showing your knowledge of the play, okay? When you're reading the questions, underline what the key words and phrases are, and this will help you identify what they're asking for. So when you refer back to them in your answer, you know that you're actually answering the question, okay? And the final point here is something that we see a lot when we look at exam papers as well. Don't spend ages writing factual information about the play. And so by what I mean by that is, don't spend ages writing, Find Me was written by Olwen Marks in blah, blah, blah. The play was written about this, when the question is asking you something else about acting skills, for instance, okay? So don't concentrate on facts. Get to the bit where you're answering the question quickly, because that is where you score the marks. So if the question is asking you about design for a certain scene or lighting for a certain scene, don't talk about the play itself and factual information regarding the play. Talk about lighting in this particular scene, and then you are answering the question. Finally, higher scoring papers use the language of drama and are specific with that language of drama, okay? So there's a few examples on screen about those words. So for acting skills, we're talking about voice skills. We'd be talking about pitch, tone, pace, pause, and volume, okay? And movement skills, key terms are pace, stillness, gesture, body language, proxemics, levels, and facial expressions, okay? It is not enough to just use one term, okay? You need to be specific about how they are using those acting skills. So at the bottom, I've written an example. It says, don't write, the actor would use her voice to show she's angry. Okay, that we see that a lot in exam papers. People say, the actor playing Verity would use her voice to show she's angry. That's a very basic response, okay? Being specific means saying exactly what they did with their voice. So the second green sentence here, the actor playing Verity should use a fierce tone of voice, increase her volume and pace so that she sounds really angry. Now, by being that specific in the second question and breaking down the detail, you are showing your knowledge of drama terminology and also your ability to analyse, to break down in detail, both of which are higher skills and will be rewarded with higher marks, okay? There finishes my some revision strategies and some strategies for the exam its actual self. In class, both me and Mrs. Voller will be running a session before the written exam just to review and refresh our knowledge of the play Find Me, and make sure that you're all clear about what you're doing in the written exam. Thank you for listening.